artificial intelligence. It isn't science fiction anymore. It is in our classrooms, right now, and it's totally changing the game for education. But the big question is, are we actually ready for this? We're about to dive into the good, the bad, and the really deep questions at the heart of AI in our schools.
So this is the kind of thing you're hearing from the top. You've got school leaders, and they are feeling this immense pressure to innovate. So they're framing AI not as some kind of threat, but as this amazing vital step forward. They're telling everyone, hey, we're embracing this. But as we're going to see, the view from inside the actual classroom, well, it's a little more complicated than that.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the conflict. On one side, you have this incredible dream, a totally personalized education for every single kid. But on the other side, you've got this nightmare scenario of cheating on a massive scale and kids losing fundamental skills. I mean, this is the tightrope that educators are walking every single day.
So what is driving this mad dash to adopt AI? Well, it's a mix. It's part genuine belief that AI can do amazing things, and it's part a very real fear of being left in the dust. For a lot of administrators, it feels like this innovation train is leaving the station, and they think they've got no choice but to jump on board.
But here's a twist. Who's actually driving the train? The data tells a really surprising story. Get this. Only about 9% of teachers are regular AI users. But students, a whopping 27% of them are. So this isn't some revolution being pushed from the top down. Nope, it's coming from the ground up. And frankly, it's happening whether schools are ready for it or not. That student number, that brings us right to the front lines, the classroom. And to really get what's happening with AI, you have to see it through the eyes of someone who's there every day. Someone like Lauren Boulanger, a high school English teacher in rural Massachusetts. You know, that one word, winced, it says everything, doesn't it? It's the sound of that gap between the official policy and what's actually happening on the ground. While the higher-ups are talking about embracing the future, teachers like Lauren are the ones dealing with the messy, complicated, and honestly, pretty frustrating present. And here's exactly why she winced. Teachers are basically stuck in this endless arms race against AI cheating. They figure out one way to catch it, like, aha, I'll check the document's revision history for a copy-paste, and the students immediately find a way around it, like manually typing out the AI text word for word. It's like a game of whack-a-mole, except the moles get smarter every single day. And let's be clear, we're not talking about students cheating on a simple history quiz. No. We're talking about AI generating these incredibly nuanced opinions on literature, or even faking deeply personal reflective essays. I mean, these are the very assignments that are supposed to teach students how to think, not just what they know. So when you can't even trust those kinds of assignments anymore, it forces us to ask the biggest, most fundamental question in this whole debate. Are these AI tools just the next generation calculator, or are they something else, something that actually replaces the act of thinking itself? This quote from Lauren Boulanger just nails it. Her point is that education isn't about producing a perfect, clean essay. It's about the struggle. It's about the process, the messy work of thinking things through. And by making efficiency the main goal, are we accidentally getting rid of the most important part of learning altogether? You know, this idea of outsourcing our brain power, it's not new. There's actually a scientific term for it, cognitive offloading. We do it all the time, right? Every time you use GPS instead of trying to remember the route. But with AI, the stakes are just so much higher. At what point does a helpful tool become a crutch that actually makes our own mental muscles weaker? The calculator analogy is really the perfect way to wrap your head around this. If you use it right, it's a great tool to explore bigger ideas. But if you use it as a crutch because you never learned multiplication, well, that leads to some serious gaps in your skills. The scary thing with AI is we're still trying to figure out which is which.
Okay, so one of the biggest promises you always hear about AI in education is that it could be this great equalizer. But just like everything else we've talked about, there's a flip side. There's a very real danger that AI could just end up making the gap between rich and poor students even wider.
So let's start with the dream scenario, right? In this future, AI is this amazing force for inclusion. It gives real-time translation to a student who's new to the country, or it perfectly adapts a lesson for a student with a learning disability. This is the promise of AI as a bridge, not a barrier.
But here's the harsh reality check. The data we use to train these AIs is full of our own human biases, and those biases get baked right into the system. And this isn't some abstract problem. I mean, look at this. One study found that AIs misidentified over half of writing samples from non-native English speakers as being AI-generated. The potential for real harm here is just huge.
So with all these potential upsides and all these serious risks,
what does the data actually say? When students use AI, does it really make them smarter, or does it just make them better at getting good grades? Let's take a look. On the surface, the numbers look incredible. A big Stanford study found that students using AI tools got higher GPAs, and they did it while studying less. I mean, that sounds like the ultimate win-win, right? Better results for less effort? But you gotta dig a little deeper, and that's when the picture gets messy. Take grading essays. An AI might be 90% accurate, which sounds amazing, but a human teacher is 95% accurate, and in that little 5% gap, you find everything that actually matters in education: nuance, context, empathy, the ability to see the person behind the paper. So where does all this leave us? We've got this technology that can do incredible good and incredible harm. And when you're faced with that kind of complexity, a pretty clear consensus is starting to form. The future isn't about banning AI, and it's not about letting it run wild. It's about keeping humans in control. The U.S. Department of Education has a really smart way of putting this. They say we should stop thinking about artificial intelligence and start thinking about intelligence augmentation. See the difference? The goal isn't to replace human thinking. It's to build a partnership with technology that makes us better thinkers. And this is what that partnership actually looks like. It's a model called Humans in the Loop. And just look at what's right in the middle of that diagram: students and teachers. The idea is really simple. Any AI used in a school has to be transparent. You have to be able to understand how it works. And most importantly, a human being always has to have the power to step in and say, nope, I'm overriding the machine, I'm making a different call. Which brings us all the way back to the beginning. Remember that administrator? So sure, so confident, the train is leaving the station. But after looking at all this, the complexities, the risks, the unanswered questions, maybe it's the teacher's perspective we should be focused on. Sure, the train is moving, but where exactly is it headed? And are we absolutely sure that's somewhere we want to go?